prophecy in the book of Genesis that shows the captivity of the Israelites in Egypt and their deliverance, and it also shows the captivity that we are all facing now and our deliverance. The first prophecy begins in Genesis chapter 12, verse 10. And a scarcity of food came to be in the land, and Abram went down to Mitzrayim to dwell there, for the scarcity of food was severe in the land. It was the scarcity of food during the days of Joseph that would eventually lead to the captivity of the Israelites. Bereshith, Genesis 41:56. And the scarcity of food was all over the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Mitzrites, and the scarcity of food was severe in the land of Mitzrayim. Bereshith, Genesis 42 verse 1. And when Yaakov saw that there was grain in Mitzrayim, Yaakov said to his sons, Why do you look at each other? And he said, See, I have heard that there is grain in Mitzrayim. Go down to that place and buy for us there, and let us live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Mitzrayim. As you can see, it was the scarcity of food that brought both Abram and the sons of Yaakov into Egypt. Bereshith, Genesis 12. And it came to be, when he was close to entering Mitzrayim, that he said to Sarai his wife, See, I know that you are a beautiful woman to look at. And it shall be, when the Mitzrites see you, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they shall kill me, but let you live. Please say, You are my sister, so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life spared because of you. And it came to be, when Abram came into Mitzrayim, that the Mitzrites saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. And he treated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and cattle and male donkeys and male and female servants and female donkeys and camels. When Joseph became a leader in Egypt, he was loved by the Pharaoh and treated like a king. So when his family came to Egypt, they were given the choice of land and treated like royalty. Bereshith, Genesis 45:16. And the report of it was heard by the house of Pharaoh, saying, The brothers of Joseph have come. And it was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to your brothers, Do this, load your beast and go, enter the land of Canaan. And take your father and your households and come to me, and I give you the best of the land of Mitzrayim, and you eat the fat of the land. When the Israelites were first in Egypt, they were treated like royalty on the account of their brother Joseph, but soon their brother Joseph would pass. Bereshith, Genesis 50:24. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am dying. But Elohim shall certainly visit you and bring you out of this land, to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov. Shemoth, Exodus 1:8. Then a new sovereign arose over Mitzrayim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase. And it shall be, when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land. So they set slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. And they were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Mitzrites made the children of Israel serve with harshness. So the Israelites became slaves in Egypt, but would be delivered eventually by Moshe. By a series of plagues, brought on by Yahuwah. Shemoth, Exodus 6:5. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Mitzrites are enslaving, and I have remembered my covenant. Say therefore to the children of Israel, I am Yahuwah, and I shall bring you out from under the burdens of the Mitzrites, and shall deliver you from their enslaving, and shall redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments. And Yahuwah brought many plagues on Egypt on the account of the Israelites. Shemoth, Exodus 12:30. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Mitzrites. And there was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not a dead one. Then he called for Moshe and Aaron by night, and said, Arise, go out from the midst of my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go, serve Yahuwah as you have said. Take both your flocks and your herds as you have said, and go. Then you shall bless me too. Bereshith, Genesis 12:17. But Yahuwah plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say, She is my sister? And so I was going to take her for my wife. Look, here is your wife. Take her and go. As you can see, there are some similarities between Abram's wife, Sarai, and the bride of Yahuwah, Israel. Shemoth, Exodus 12:35. And the children of Israel had done according to the words of Moshe. And they had asked from the Mitzrites objects of silver and objects of gold and garments. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites, so that they gave them what they asked, and they plundered the Mitzrites. Bereshith, Genesis 13:1. And Abram went up from the Mitzrayim into the south, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Abram was very rich in livestock and silver and in gold. As you can see the parallels between the story of Abram in Egypt and the Israelites in Egypt. They are both the same. So let's look at the second time when Abram takes Sarai to Gerar. This time his name is Abraham and her name is Sarah, because the letter He has been added to both of their names, because the letter He represents the Kodesh Spirit, or the Holy Spirit. When Yahuwah made a covenant with Abram, the He was added to his name. Bereshith, Genesis 17:3. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. And no longer is your name called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. Bereshith, Genesis 17:15. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for Sarai, your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. And I shall bless her, and also give you a son by her. And I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. Sovereigns of people are to be from her. The letter He was added to both Abram's name, making him Abraham, and Sarai's name, making her Sarah, showing the presence of the Kodesh Spirit being with them both. This is allegorical of the outpouring of the Kodesh Spirit by Yahusha before the last Exodus. This last Exodus is shown in Abraham's account. Bereshith, Genesis 20, verse 1. And Abraham set out from there to the land of the south, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. The word Kadesh is Hebrew Strong's 6946. It means a sacred, a place in the desert. It has an akin word, which is Kodesh, spelled the same way, It is Hebrew Strong's 6944, which means set apart, apartness or sacredness. The word sure in this verse is Hebrew Strong's 7793, sure, and it is a desert region southwest of Palestine on the east border of Egypt. It has an akin word, which is Hebrew Strong's 7788, sure, spelt the same way. It means perhaps to travel or journey or to turn. The word Gerar in this passage is Hebrew Strong's 1642. The word means a place south of Gaza. It has an akin word, Hebrew Strong's 1641, spelt the same way, Gerar, which means to drag or drag away, as fishes in a net. So in this passage, it says that he dwelt between Kodesh and Shur, and the word Kodesh means to be set apart, as in KmaePHA ALEPH, 1 Peter, verse 14. As obedient children, not conforming yourselves to the former lust in your ignorance. Instead, as the one who called you is set apart, so you also should become set apart in all behavior, because it has been written, be set apart, for I am set apart. The word sure in this passage can mean travelers, as sojourners in the land, but not of the land. To live in the land of the flesh, but be not of the flesh, as in KmaePHA ALEPH, 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 11. Beloved ones, I appeal to you as sojourners and pilgrims, to abstain from fleshly lust, which battle against the being, having your behavior among the nations good, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, let them, by observing your good works, esteem Elohim in a day of visitation. So we are to stay Kodesh in this fleshly world, but be not of the world. And it says that Abraham dwelt in the land of Gerar, which means to be dragged away as a fish in a net. Yochanan John 21:3. Shimon KmaePHA said to them, I am going to fish. They said to him, we are also coming with you. They went out and immediately entered into the boat, and that night they caught none at all. But when it became early morning, Yahusha stood on the beach. However, the taught ones did not know that it was Yahusha. Then Yahusha said to them, Children, have you any food? They answered him, No. And he said to them, Throw the net on the right side of the boat, and you shall find. So they threw, and they were no longer able to draw it in because of the large number of fish. That taught one, whom Yahusha loved, then said to KmaePHA, It is the master. And Simon KmaePHA, hearing that it was the master, put on his outer garment, for he was stripped, and plunged into the sea. And the other taught ones came in the little boat, for they were not far from land, but about 200 cubits, dragging the net with the fish. And when they had come to the land, they saw a fire of coals there, and a fish laid on it, and bread. Yahusha said to them, Bring some of the fish which you have now caught. Simon KmaePHA went up and dragged the net to the land, filled with 153 big fishes. And though there were so many, the net was not broken. Quote, Jerome, a Christian priest, a theologian, and a historian in the year 347 to 420 AD, recorded that the Greek zoologists believed there to be 153 different species of fish known at that time. It was believed that there was 153 known nations at this time. The net of the 153 fish represented all the nations and tongues that will be dragged away, like the word Gerar, in the net of the fishers of men, so that they remain in him. MATTITHYAHU, Matthew 13:47. Again, The rain of the heavens is like a dragnet that was thrown into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which when it was filled, they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into containers, but threw the rotten away. Thus shall it be at the end of the age. The messengers shall come forth, and separate the wicked out of the midst of the righteous, and shall throw them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. We are to stay Kodesh as sojourners, and remain in him, for at the end of the age many will be taken from the earth for not repenting. Notice in verse 49 it says that the wicked will be separated out of the midst of the righteous. This shows that there will be a Passover, not a rapture, meaning the ones who stay in Yahusha, who repent and are Kodesh, shall be left behind, and the wicked will be separated out of the midst of the righteous. Bereshith, Genesis 20 verse 2. And Abraham said concerning Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech, the sovereign of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But Abraham came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, See, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. However, Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Yahuwah, would you kill a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, and so I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason I did not let you touch her. Abimelech represents all the nations where the children of Israel are scattered. Also notice in verse 4 he says, Would you kill a righteous nation? This also is a reference that sounds much like the reference to Sodom and Gomorrah. This would be the spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah in the end of days, and the set apart ones will be protected in the tribulation of the last days, as it is shown in क़AZON, Revelation 11:8. And their dead bodies lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Mitzrayim, where also our Master was impaled. In verse 6, he says, For this reason I did not let you touch her. This shows that the bride will be protected during the tribulation period, as in Revelation 3, verse 7 through 10. And to the messenger of the assembly in Philadelphia write, He who is set apart, he who is true, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens, says this, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one is able to shut it. That you have little power, yet you have guarded my word, and have not denied my name. See, I am giving up those of the congregation of Satan, who say they are Yahudim and are not, but lie. See, I am making them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you, because you have guarded my word of endurance. I also shall guard you from the hour of trial, which shall come upon all the world, to try those who dwell on the earth. Bereshith, Genesis 20, verse 7. And now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall certainly die, you and all that are yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning and called his servants, and spoke all these words in their hearing, and the men were greatly frightened. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? And what have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and my reign a great sin? You have done matters to me that should not be done. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you have in view that you have done this matter? And Abraham said, Only because I said to myself, The fear of Elohim is not in this place, and they shall kill me for the sake of my wife. This verse shows the falling away from belief that will happen in the end of days, as in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. As to the coming of our Master Yahushua Messiah and our gathering together to him, we ask you, brothers, not to become easily unsettled in mind or troubled, either by spirit or by word or by letter, as if from us, as if the day of Yahuwah has come. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first, and the man of lawlessness is to be revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as Elohim in the dwelling place of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Bereshith, Genesis 20, verse 12. And yet she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. The mother represents Israel, and the Torah was given to her. But as we know, the bride went astray, and Yahuwah divorced the first Israel and YIRMEYAHU, Jeremiah, chapter 3, verse 8. And I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Israel has committed adultery, I had her put away and given her a certificate of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Yehuda did not fear, but went and committed whoring too. And by Torah, a man cannot remarry his divorced bride. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 4. Then her former husband, who sent her away, is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be an abomination before Yahuwah. And do not bring sin on the land which Yahuwah your Elohim has given you as an inheritance. So the bride is not from the original Israel, but the bride is from the Father. This shows the bride coming out of many nations. Yochanan John chapter 4, verse 23. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship him. Bereshith, Genesis chapter 20, verse 13. And it came to be, when Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is your loving commitment that you should do for me in every place. Wherever we go, say of me, He is my brother. MATTITHYAHU, Matthew 23:8. But you do not be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, the Messiah, and you are all brothers. Yochanan ALEPH, 1 John chapter 2, verse 10. The one who loves his brother stays in the light, and there is no stumbling block in him. Bereshith, Genesis 20:14. Then Abimelech took sheep and cattle and male and female servants and gave them to Abraham. And he returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, See, my land is before you. Dwell wherever is good in your eyes. And to Sarah he said, See, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. See, it is to you a covering of eyes before all who are with you and before all others, and you are cleared before everyone. The bride has now been set free of the place where she was held, and she has been cleared of all, just as the bride in the end of the days will be washed clean of all of its sin by the precious blood of the Lamb. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Messiah also did love the assembly and gave himself for it, in order to set it apart and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word, in order to present it to himself a splendid assembly, not having a spot or wrinkle or of any of this sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. Bereshith, Genesis 20:17. And Abraham prayed to Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelech and his wife and his female servants, so that they bore children. For Yahuwah had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. YESHAYAH, Isaiah 66:8. Who has heard the like of this? Who have seen the like of these? Is a land brought forth in one day, is a nation born at once. For as soon as Zion labored, she gave birth to her children. Shall I bring to birth and not give delivery, says Yahuwah? Shall I, who give delivery, restrain birth, said your Elohim? Rejoice with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all you who love her. Rejoice greatly with her, all you who mourn for her. So that you feed, and shall be satisfied with the breast of her comforts. So that you drink deeply, and shall delight yourself in her overflowing esteem. For thus said Yahuwah, see, I am extending peace to her like a river, and the esteem of the nations like a flowing stream. And you shall feed, you shall be carried on the side and fondled on her knees. As one whom his mother comforts, so I comfort you. In Jerusalem you are comforted. Bereshith, Genesis 21:1. And Yahuwah visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahuwah did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son, who was born to him, who Sarah bore to him, Yishak. Sarah represents the bride that comes out of all the nations, and like Abraham, who is in his old age, the nations will produce the promised bride at the end of the ages. A bride who is washed and prepared by the precious blood of the Lamb. In the first Exodus, as when the famine came, and Abram went to Egypt, just as the children of Israel did, and were led out, and given the Torah. The Torah was never meant to atone for our sin, only to guide us and show us what sin is, and why we need atonement. It would be our Messiah, Yahusha, that would bring us the atonement at his appointed time on the cursed tree, and fulfill the sacrificial requirements as mentioned in the Torah, and has truly set us all free. Yochanan John, chapter 8, verse 31. So Yahusha said to those Yehudim who believed in him, if you stay in my word, you are truly my taught ones, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, we are the seed of Abraham, and have been servants to no one at any time. How do you say, you shall become free? Yahusha answered him, truly, truly, I say to you, everyone doing sin is a servant of sin, and the servant does not stay in the house forever. A son stays forever. If then the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. Galatians chapter 4, verse 19. My little children, for whom I am again in birth pains until Messiah is formed in you. Even now I wish to be present with you now, to change my voice, for I have doubts about you. Say to me, you who wish to be under Torah, do you not hear the Torah? For it has been written that Abraham had two sons, one by a female servant, the other by a free woman. But he who was from the female servant was born according to the flesh, and he of the free woman through promise. This is allegorical, for these are the two covenants, one indeed from Mount Sinai, which brings forth slavery, which is Hagar. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and corresponds to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in slavery with her children. But the Jerusalem above is free, which is the mother of us all. For it has been written, rejoice, O barren, you who do not bear, break forth and shout, you who do not have birth pains. For the deserted one has many more children than she who has a husband. And we, brothers, as Yishak was, are children of promise. But as he who was born according to the flesh then persecuted him born according to the Spirit, so also now. But what does the Scripture say? Cast out the female servant and her son, for the son of the female servant shall by no means be heir with the son of the free woman. Therefore, brothers, We are not children of the female servant, but of the free woman. As you can see, the two accounts of Father Abraham going into the nations with his bride represents perfectly the two Exodus, the one in Egypt and the second Exodus which is yet to come. YESHAYAH, Isaiah 11:11. And it shall be in that day that Yahuwah sets his hand again a second time to recover the remnant of his people who are left, from Ashur and from Mitzrayim and Pathros and from Cush, from Eliam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcast of Israel and assemble the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth. We want to thank you all for joining us in this message. May Yahuwah bless you and keep you, and make his face shine upon you, and give you peace. Shalom.